Hello, what's going on? Doug Cunnington here. We're going to be doing a keyword research demo. We're going to use KWFinder. We do have some questions already out there. If you do have a question or you have an area that you want me to focus on for keyword research, feel free to put it in. You could kind of follow the logic that I use. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, number one. Also, let me know where you're from. Let me know what's going on there. I think I can hear myself. That's always a good sign. And one thing we'll do also for today is if there are questions unrelated to keyword research, we will hold them to the end. So if it's hyper relevant to whatever we're talking about, that's cool. But if it's some random other thing, then I'll probably wait until it makes sense. The demo portion will be some amount of time. I'm not sure how long. And before we get started, as we wait for some people to hop in, I got to plug a couple things. One, there's a 3-part free email series, a little mini course that I'm sending out. Actually, at this point, it'll just be 2 because the first one came out yesterday. So the first email came out yesterday. So there's a 2-part mini course, but you could catch up. I kind of give you a little review along the way. There's a link in the description so you could follow along. You just sign up. You'll start getting those emails and you'll end up signing up for my email list at the same time. If you do want to get notifications for these live streams, you can follow the link. There's a YouTube notification. Again, you join the email list, but you don't have to rely on YouTube to send out the emails or to notify you because it's generally not going to work or it's very late. And then the other thing, I always forget to wear the hat. Ezoic does sponsor these live streams, so much appreciated to Ezoic. You can follow their link there. No minimum page view limits or anything like that. You can follow the link for the access now and get started. You can check out and use their tool called Leap. So thanks to Ezoic. Leap helps you get green in core web vitals. We have Odys, that's ODYS, and we'll have a quick spot from them in a little bit. And of course, niche website builders, they sponsor these, especially the Q&A segment. So whenever we start answering questions, we'll get into it. And let me know if it's your first time on the live stream, the live chat and all that. Zach is first one here. So let's see, does that pop up? Yeah, there you go, Zach. And then we have Jody is asking about raising chickens. So is that a real suggestion or are you just messing with me here? Daniel is asking a question. So we'll dive into that. I'm marking these so I can come back to it. All right. And then we also have Couch. What's going on? People can hear me in London, Chicago, from Virginia, from Bangladesh. And DJ is around too from Scranton. Faith from UK. We got Rolando and Marco is yelling at me from Colombia. What's up with the caps, buddy? All right, and Gaz is here. I'm a bit late too. You just got home from work. Very cool. Thanks everybody for hopping in. If you do have an area of keyword research you want me to focus on, let me know. At the start, I do see, like I said, Jody mentioned raising chickens, but I think that could be a joke. So let me know if that is a joke or not. It's unclear to me. Daniel says you're interested in a keyword research for a big niche like pets because with a large topic or niche, I'm struggling strategically. So one way to think about it, just before we start using the tool, is you can start like really broad and then narrow it down to something more approachable. The smart thing to do is to brand your site in a very broad way so that you're able to branch out and cover different topics if you want to in the future. You don't have to, but you have the option. However, at the beginning, you'll want to focus pretty narrowly into a small niche, a very narrow area so that you can build relevancy. Hopefully those are long tail keywords. I did put in the title for this video, long tail keyword research. So you start big, but then you narrow it down quite a bit. So that's the idea. And we could do pets. Actually, one thing that I'm always unoriginal, and I have a camera that I'm using right here and camera gear and lenses and such. So I always default over to camera stuff as well. But we can go to obscure things too as we move on. So Joanne is on here, Parvez, Marco lost his caps, and Kalish. Yeah, so thanks everybody for hopping on. So that's the general idea when you're thinking about, narrowing it down. You'll have to narrow it down at some point, and at the beginning is when you should narrow it down. So let's go ahead and get started here. So one thing, I like to use KWFinder for keyword research, for sort of pure keyword research. And there's some nice information and data that is aggregated all together. I am an affiliate for KWFinder, and if you want to check out their tool, I think you can save 10% with the coupon code Niche Site Project. There's a link over there. It's an affiliate link, so if you sign up, I get a commission. I think there's probably a free trial. It's pretty standard for all the tools out there. And, you could check it out. I don't care which tool you use. This is the one I use for sort of pure keyword research. I do like Ahrefs a lot, not so much for the keyword research, although it's fine to use just about any tool for keyword research. They're all going to provide similar data, and it'll be fine. So whichever one you're most comfortable with, you can use it. Or if there's one that's cheaper and that fits your budget, go for it. I don't care which tool you use, but we're using KWFinder in this case. So we will kick it off, like I said, with something broad. And I will shout out to Richard and to Adrian, who just hopped in. So Adrian is one of the kind moderators, so thanks for helping out. So what was the one earlier? So pets. Okay, so initially, pets is kind of broad. So I'm going to go ahead and just narrow it down a little bit to make it a little bit easier. I like dogs. So maybe we could focus on dogs, but that's pretty competitive. So maybe we'll think about dogs, and dogs or cats or some other broad category would be okay to have a whole site on, and then you could narrow it down from there. Maybe you like ferrets, maybe you like skunks or pigs, whatever you're into. Woolly mammoth, other animals. Okay, so I see word mouth is giving people a hard time. So consider that your warning. I have essentially a zero tolerance policy. So, okay, so we'll start with dogs, and we'll kind of go from there. And I think what we can do, who suggested this? Was it Daniel? Okay, so Daniel. So we'll say dogs and then see what happens. So one of the reasons why I like KWFinder is it's sort of a pure keyword research tool. I'm not sure if this was the original tool from Mangools and then they branched out from there. So as you can see, if you just search for dogs and you end up with like 2 million searches per month, probably a little competitive, probably not what you're looking for. You're probably not going to rank. So as you go through here, you can see there's all these different breeds that pop up, also super competitive. But that could be one way to start narrowing it down. Just select a breed and go from there. It would make sense in this case to find a breed that maybe you have that dog or you have a strong interest in it. Now, the other side of the coin is you could go sort of broad with pets and then you aim down to dogs, but you can maybe imagine that you can have nearly unlimited keywords if you have a site based on dogs, but then you cover things about specific breeds. You could, I don't even know, there's probably hundreds of breeds, and then there's combos that there's many of these we're already running into that I've never even heard of. So if you think about it that way, you can come up with tons of keywords. Now, maybe it would be like, can Australian cattle dogs eat X food? So you end up with all these different foods, and you can sort of mix and match, and you end up with a site that is really, you're never going to run out of keywords. A site that can be huge because you have all these different breeds. I'm not saying that's a perfect idea, but you can get the idea from there. So maybe it's how to train a fox terrier, how to train a bloodhound, how to train a Maltese, a Springer Spaniel, and so on. And it could be how to train X dog certain trick. So you could come up with your own combination of different informational keywords, how to train X breed to do X trick. So as you go from here, your brain should be, turning a little bit. You should be coming up with a lot of different ideas. So one thing we could do with a tool like this is we can, turn it around and ask questions. But let's go ahead and narrow it down just a little bit. Maybe something like this, the hypoallergenic dogs. So just paste it. See what we come up with here. And I see a couple people just popped in. We have Sinette said, you just joined. What have you covered so far? We're talking about keyword research, so we're just starting the demo here. All right, so now we still have, quite a few different keywords. It's 700 listed here. And the data that we're looking at in this little grid, we have the trend. So it tells us if it's popular, maybe it happens to be something that's sort of seasonal. The search volume, and this is based on the last 12 months. You could narrow it down or change it to the last 6 months or 3 months, whatever you want to do. 12 months seems good to me. CPC is a cost per click. That's what people pay when they run ads for the specific keyword. It's not super relevant for what we're looking at here. And then we have the pay per click, the level of competition in Google Ads. So again, we don't really care too much about those, but if there's some reason that you do, you could check out that data. Then the KD is the keyword difficulty, and that is out of 100. It basically uses the link profile strength, which is LPS, that we'll come to that in a second, and basically just looks at how strong the URLs are that are linking to a particular URL that is ranking in the top 10. So when we hop over here, and it's not super relevant right now once we start narrowing it down, because these are ultra competitive, so we'll kind of narrow it down in a second. But here's one of the reasons why I like this KWFinder. So we have the keyword difficulty, we have the search volume with historical data. So we get like the monthly searches, and we can kind of understand the trends over time. There you go. So you can see the trends over time. This is a growing thing over the past several years. And then the Serp Overview, and this is what I really like. You have each of the top 10 results here. You have the domain authority, the page authority, the citation flow, trust flow, the number of links, Facebook shares, the link profile strength. Again, that is the proprietary piece of information that tells you how strong the backlink profile is to that individual result. And then we have the estimated visitors per month based on the monthly search volume. And that is also put together with the estimated click-through rate based on the position. So everything here is essentially an estimate, but it does give you an idea overall, some of where like the relative strength of certain posts, or the relative traffic, or the relative searches per month, just estimates, right? you don't have to treat it as, exactly accurate or anything. It's just an estimate, but it does give you an idea, like this keyword is searched for 20 times more than some of the others. Okay, so we went from very broad dogs to a little more narrow to hypoallergenic, but we're still talking about 200 searches per month. So as we scroll down, we may see some more approachable sort of keywords here. Now we're running into these green KD values, which essentially tells us that they're a little bit less competitive. And what we're looking at is specific breeds and whether or not they are hypoallergenic. So that's a good sign. So you can see some of these are sort of shaded in, and some of them are a little bit more vibrant. So if they're sort of shaded in, it means it hasn't been updated in a little while. So for example, we have the Pomeranian hypoallergenic right here. So if you click on it, it'll refresh the data. So it's, deep in the database for KWFinder. When you click it, it'll refresh the database, and then it'll tell us it's a 22, 3,900 searches per month. And then just when we click on it, we see the Serp overview. We see the trends over time. So it really jumped at one point. And then from here, you can see some of the competition is really straightforward. Some of it is a little bit tougher. We see a site here that is focusing purely on exactly what we're talking about here, hypoallergenicdog.net. And if you look here, there's not too many links on this specific post, but the DA and the PA, actually, this is kind of funny. So it says there's no links here, but the link profile strength says 30. So what is that based on? Well, I have no idea. It's probably, it's a proprietary piece of information, but I suspect some of the factors are related to the DA, the PA, the CF, and TF. So I'm assuming those all come into play somehow. And even though it's showing no links here, I bet if you looked over on Ahrefs or something with a better backlink database, you would see a lot more. Okay, so we are now narrowing it down. And I'm going to pop back on full screen here. And the original question is related to just narrowing things down. So let me pop back on here. So we've narrowed down dogs to hypoallergenic, and then we ran into a site here that actually is just built on a bunch of hypoallergenic ideas. And we could take a look at the site and see, how much content do they have? Is it high quality? What does it look like? And you can create a whole site just based on something really narrow like that. You can also have a section of your site that is dedicated to that specific thing, hypoallergenic dogs. And there could be some, other related type topics you can cover. So let's start thinking just broadly and get away from the tool for a second here. If you are looking at hypoallergenic dogs, you may be very interested in air purifiers and air filtering and air quality and allergies and stuff like that. So you could think of products that are unrelated to pets that you maybe didn't think of before that you could cover. It could even be like your furnace filters, your HVAC filters. You could promote all these different products that are related to air quality. Even though we started at dogs, all of a sudden we ended up in a different spot. If you were to have a site based on dogs in general, you have a section on hypoallergenic, you have some other products you could offer. People with dogs often want to train them. So you could have some training information as well. You could have affiliate deals for specific online training programs, in-person training. You could have referrals to in-person training based on geography. You can have maybe a directory with boarding and kennels and doggy daycare across the country, across the world. You can have referrals to what are some of those apps? I think Rover, There's another one. There's a couple apps for like dog walking, dog sitting, stuff like that. So once you start brainstorming, you can really come up with a bunch of different ideas to monetize. All the things I just mentioned, you could go on the other side too. If you are referring people to a rover that own dogs, you can also refer people that want to become dog walkers. You could talk about uh, how to put together your profile, how to approach it. There's a lot of different ways that you can come at this and have more and more content. Again, I just came up with this stuff. Like, I mean, it was suggested from the audience. I did no prior research, and we're still kind of in the front end phase where we're really, really broad. So let's hop back in here. And just a quick reminder for the folks that just popped in, if you have a topic that you want me to look at here, we'll go over it. We maybe could find a couple keywords for you, although that is not the idea here. So I do see that Jody says, hey, Doug, I helped my wife start a chicken blog and would love to hear ideas around that topic. So the main idea with this live stream and this free training that we're doing, I want to show you how to do the keyword research, and I want to tell you how I think about it, which I think that is way more valuable. If you want keywords on a specific topic, you can go fucking hire someone to do the keyword research for you. But if you want to learn how to do it yourself and then learn the warped thought processes that I have in my brain and this bald head right here, that is the most valuable piece. So I can find some keywords for you, but what are you going to do when you need other keywords for another topic? And hopefully you'll learn something along the way. But Jody, if you're, here's the thing, right? So your wife started a chicken blog. Hopefully you guys are into chickens, raising chickens, eggs, the roost, building a little barn and stuff like that. All the shit, right? Hopefully you're into it. So every question that you came up with, Jody, and that your wife came up with, or when you go somewhere and you're like, hey, we're raising chickens. Again, hopefully you are, otherwise it's just a random topic. Any question that people ask you about raising chickens or questions that you had yourself, those are the ones that you should go after, because it's literally what you were thinking of. All right, so let's do raising chickens. And let's share the screen again. If you are just hopping on, you can, number one, sign up for the free email training. It's a 3-part email series, but the first one already came out yesterday. So you'll get 2 on Wednesday and Friday of this week. And you could also sign up to get notifications for other live streams that I do, which typically are going to be at this time. Not always, but typically going to be at this time on Tuesdays. Next week, it may be different. I think I have a conflict. Nevertheless, we can look up raising chickens. All right, so raising chickens, there are 231 keywords that popped up here. So just a quick note, this is clearly probably less popular than some of the stuff we were searching for before. This is much more specific, but in the other cases, we got the maximum number that most tools will deliver in this sort of scenario, about 700 or so. This one just gave us 231. So we have raising chickens for eggs. So again, we're starting pretty broad, and it's 1,900 searches per month right here, but the KD is 48. It's 48, and that would probably be, kind of rough. But what we can do, of course, you can, look at the competition and see what's going on over here. As we scroll down, and actually, Jody, since this was your suggestion, what keywords did you come up with already? What things do people ask? I don't know anything about chickens other than, just the very broad things that I mentioned before. So to make this go a little faster and hopefully slightly more entertaining, you can tell us some things. Now, one thing you can do is go for questions. Now, I think someone asked, do you have to use a keyword research tool? You don't have to use a keyword research tool if you don't want to. So one thing we can do is, so hopefully we're looking for questions here. So again, we just have 46, but it's narrowed it down and just looking for questions. So in a second, we'll just go over to Google. And again, you don't have to use a keyword research tool. It just makes it a lot easier. And one of the reasons why I'm using this tool is it's oriented specifically for finding keywords. It's called KWFinder, Keyword Finder. So if you're not using a tool, then you can get an idea that some people are searching for certain terms, but you don't know how often they're searching. While these are just estimates here that I emphasized before, it does give you an idea that this keyword is searched for 6 times more than the other one. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go for either one or one's better than the other, but it just gives you an idea what's going on. So even if you don't use a keyword research tool all the time, it's probably a decent idea to use one just to get a relative idea on how much people are searching for it. So how much room do you need to raise chickens? 10 searches per month. How much does it cost to start raising chickens? Are chickens hard to raise? Are raising chickens profitable? So a lot of different keywords. So one thing we can do, how much does it cost? So we can click this search related keywords. I haven't done this in a while, so let's see what happens. All right. So now this shows us keywords related to cost. So related keywords to how much does it cost to start raising a chicken. So here we end up with some pretty decent results. Some of them are more competitive. How much are chickens? How much are chickens to buy? Price of egg laying chicken. So all around kind of the same idea here. And in this case, we end up with 700 keywords, but some of them may not be relevant because it's not related to actually raising chickens. All right. So this gives us a pretty good idea, and I'm going to stop sharing just for a second so I can open up another tab here. And so one thing you can do is just go to Google and look for related terms. So we'll hop back here. So I just search for this here. How much does it cost to start raising chickens? And when you click, you end up with auto suggest and related searches here. So how much does it cost per year? How much does it cost to raise 100 chickens and 50 pounds of chicken feed? And you can go to people also ask and really get into it here. Jody says that his wife focuses on breed-specific profiles, stupid questions. Why are eggs sold by the dozen? She struggles. We want to see it's easier than she thinks. Yeah. So, yeah, you can go this route. And the thing is, it's useful to hop over to Google and search for things anyway. Or if you find what you believe is a good keyword, you can search for it on Google and then see what else comes up, see what else is relevant, and you'll get some ideas on the just what's going on and what people are searching for. So one thing, so this is coopdesignplans.com, and what you can do is just do some competition research to get ideas. So here we have the cost of raising backyard chickens. Will you save money? Question mark, right? So this is great. And what you could do is just have a look at what they are covering, and maybe you'll get new ideas. Maybe you can use some of the ideas that they have here and do a better job or add your own spin to whatever it is the topic is. So pretty straightforward overall. And I would say, Jody, you know, go look at competitors and see what they are asking. The thing is, once you get started, it may be a little tough to get moving, but once you get started, you're probably going to come up with a lot of ideas. If you just go to another website that has it covered pretty well, or maybe I did see there were several like EDU type sites in at least one of the SERPs here. So if you find something that is on an EDU site, maybe it's not very friendly to read, maybe it's not very informational, then you can do a better job, use it as a reference. You could even link to it, but the thing is, you could take the information, consolidate it, make it more approachable, publish it on your site. Okay, so let's find some others here. Hopefully that was helpful. Since I don't know much about chickens, it's not as useful. There's many things that I know a little bit about that makes it, kind of a little bit easier to do these demos. So someone else recommended something. Let's see. We have Ariel is here. What's going on? Be sure to check out her interviews that I've done. Mohammed is here. People are asking unrelated questions, which is cool. I'm noting them, and I will come back to them at the end. As we go through. Oh, yeah, and Gaz says, be sure to hit the thumbs up. Yeah, so hit the thumbs up if this is helpful. Daniel says, you would love to hear about long tail keyword research. You never heard of it before. So long tail is basically, it's a math term, and it's related to the graph that you might see. And I'll crudely sketch it up right here. It doesn't have anything to do with the length of the keyword. Like, it doesn't mean that it's a long keyword. However, there's a strong correlation that longer phrases typically are, quote, long tail keywords. So that does make it more confusing. The other part is the short or fat tail. There's some middle ground or whatever, but what you end up with is like a high search volume. Don't worry, I'll show the graph in a second. And this is like something that sort of came up with kind of the advent of like the internet. And you think of Amazon, and there may be like a very popular books that sell millions of copies per year. They're the best sellers, but there's a back catalog of obscure books, and there's almost an infinite number of obscure books out there. And they may not sell many, but there's a lot of them, so they add up. So here's my crude drawing. So here's the crude drawing, which is out of focus. There, you can probably see that. Yeah, so the long tail is out over here. And like I said, there's kind of an infinite number of those keywords. The search volume's low, but there's a lot of them. So you can see the short or the fat tail right here. Very high search volume, but there's not very many of them. So that is the idea with a long tail. There's a whole book called The Long Tail. It's by Chris Anderson. It's pretty good. You should check it out. Read a summary of it. All right. And then, yeah, we'll keep going through here. Okay. Faith says, can we check something around safety deposit box? Sure. I have honestly no clue. I mean, I know what a safety deposit box is, but that seems like a weird thing to do keyword research on, but you must know something that I don't know. You potentially could, refer people to banks, but yeah. So safety deposit box. And yeah, this is super narrow. So 548 pop up here, safety deposit box near me, cost, different banks are listed, hiding cash in a safety deposit box. So one thing we can do here is filter if you want to, right? There's a couple things that you could filter on depending on what you're looking for. In this case, I'm going to look for sort of the lower search volumes. So I don't necessarily need to filter right now. So we'll just come back and then we'll sort it the other way and look at some of the very low search volumes. And we're getting mostly banks listed here. Standard safety deposit box. So if you're asking me for advice on the safety deposit box niche, I would say skip it unless you have a really good reason why you're going for safety deposit boxes. It just doesn't make sense to me. So Faith, if you have any other things you want me to look up, I would say don't worry about it. This is not something that you're probably going to have much to write about. So feel free to elaborate here, but I'm going to say something like this is probably not good unless you have a specific reason, like you're selling safety deposit boxes or something like that. All right. Phil says, thanks for doing this. It keeps you motivated and engaged. Awesome. Gaz is pumping up the chat with jokes, little stand-up comedy in there. And again, I will save the unrelated questions for the end. We're going through. All right. Oh, Robin's on. What's going on? All right. And Saving to Invest says keywords, how to get through a recession. So can you be more specific? I mean, I think that's your keyword right there. So you could just use that. I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for related keywords on how to get through a recession, I mean, again, I think that's you're aiming if you're in the investment or personal finance space, it's going to be very hard because you're competing with banks and personal finance advisors and stuff like that. So, how to get through a recession. So you can see what comes up here and then maybe get some additional ideas. So how to invest before a recession, prepare for a recession, surviving a recession. And a lot of these are going to be ultra competitive. So, one approach would be being specific about the kind of searcher. So how to get through a recession as a student, as a single parent, as a fill in the blank, right? As an electrician, and then, whatever you want to do. So that would be an approach, and that could be for almost anything, right? So back to the safety deposit box, which I didn't quite understand. So Ariel says safes would be better for precious metal stackers and stuff. Yeah. So I think a safe is totally different than a safety deposit box. Safety deposit box is at a bank. So like you said, Ariel, like if obviously with keyword research, the words that people use are important. So I took it as a, specific, like that they knew what they were talking about. Faith. So Faith, if you want to chime in again. So on that note, we could say safety deposit box for, and then do autocomplete, which might take a minute to do. So the autocomplete does what I was showing you on Google. So you can use Google to do the autocomplete stuff and just do it manually, or you could use a tool. Many of the tools will do exactly what we're talking about, plus deliver all the information. And it's pretty straightforward. Okay. So safety deposit box for a key, for home, for a specific application or type of user. Again, we're ending up with banks and other stuff here. So those are a no-go, but you could have like a specific application. So that would be it. Safety deposit box for the home, which is a safe. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to come back and answer some questions. I'm going to let my voice rest for a minute. This is brought to you by Odys. So we're going to run a quick little, actually this domain is awesome. So I'll be right back in a couple minutes here. It's global sponsor of this show. They're the source for premium age domains with strong branding and powerful backlinks. We have a pretty amazing domain for today. It is ZevFax, ZEVFax.com, and it's all about zero emission vehicles, which of course is a growing industry. The site is, or I guess the domain more specifically, was created in 2014. The domain rating is, I had 22, but it's actually up to 24 currently. It actually did have some organic traffic, not too much, but back in 2016 and 2017, when I look at Ahrefs, it was getting some organic traffic. The domain authority is about 30 currently. It's a very brandable domain. And this was a site that got quite a few backlinks. So I'll mention that really quick. There are 101 unique referring domains, and it looks like 39 of those are active. Do follow digitaltrends.com, cars.com, sierraclub.org, autoblog.com, cincinnati.com, and many other very high DR sites. So that's pretty cool. And basically, this is a growing industry, and you can aim in the general informational area, right? So it's zevfax.com, so you could put display ads up. It is only a growing industry, and you could just put up a ton of different questions that people have. And because it's a growing industry, as I've mentioned so many times, there's all these different models that are coming out, different car zero emission vehicles that are coming out, and you basically could just have questions revolving around all the different models that are coming out. And these questions are just going to get bigger and more complicated, and just more and more of these kind of unlimited keywords. You also could put together somewhat of a directory, for example, where you can charge your electric vehicles and what cars can be charged in certain stations across the country, across the world, really. And of course, you can mention some of the environmental facts and some of the impact that these type of vehicles have. So if you wanted to go even deeper, you could even have somewhat of a lead generation component where you can match up people that are interested in these vehicles with car dealerships and make those connections. So definitely worth checking out. Some of those high authority links are just amazing. So certainly check it out. This site is available right now, zebfax.com. If you join Odys using my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account, which I appreciate, and I might earn a commission if you do purchase something. All right, and we are back to answer a few more questions. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you found this enjoyable. You can hit the thumbs down if you don't like it. I'm going to answer a few more questions here. And cool. If anyone else has keyword research areas to get into, let me know. We'll probably hop back there. Let me find a little overlay here for niche website builders. They also sponsor the Q&A segment, which we're getting into now. And you can save, as you can see on here, you can save 10% for the link building packages. You can get 10% more content on the done for you sites and content in general. So it's a good deal. You just need those coupon codes, which you could sign up for if you follow the link in the description. So thanks to Niche Website Builders. Let's see what questions we have that I skipped earlier. If I miss yours, you can ask again. Let's see. What do we have here? What do we have? Where are they at? Questions. Okay. Ninja says, okay, this is unrelated to keyword research. I'm using SiteStripe to get image links, but when I paste them into WordPress, the image is not as appearing. Don't know. Something's fucked up, but I don't know. It could be something with your theme. It could be something with other plugins, but I have no idea. Some people have some suggestions. So hopefully that helped out. Some people are asking if you're using an HTML block, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I don't know. This is not a good medium to do WordPress troubleshooting. Number one, I'm not a WordPress expert, and it's very hard to do it via chat. So I would use Google and Google that. I bet someone covered it somewhere. Thank you for asking, though. I come down hard on people in the chat. That is a fair question. You said it was unrelated. Hopefully people answered it in a way that was helpful for you. Minaj says, your site's earning $50 a month. How much is it worth on Flippa if you want to sell it? So there's a variety of factors. Typically these days, it'll probably sell for somewhere between, say, like 28 and 48 times the monthly profits. And it does depend on a number of factors, like the historical earnings and historical traffic. So if it's like a brand new site, it may not be able to go for the higher end, but typically that is sort of the multiples. It's usually, on average, probably in the mid 30s these days, but it depends on the site, traffic sources, the monetization methods, many different things. John says, do you reckon it takes 6 months for Google to find all the keywords in an article? No. I see Ahrefs is pulling 5 keywords from an article, but would expect it to be more. Does this increase with age? I think Google knows, they know all the words that are in there as soon as they check it out. So one piece of information that I have, I will be publishing a video soon on a case study that I'm doing, publishing 200,000 words, about 200 articles in 4 months. I just published about 46 of the articles. I did not submit it specifically to the Google Search Console. It's on the sitemap, and I'm waiting to see how long it takes it to be indexed, those 46 articles to be indexed, without taking any additional action. The site's about a year and a half old, So it does have some history, but just, people always talk about these days how long it takes for something to index. People are really impatient. They want to take shortcuts and all this shit, which is fine, do whatever you need to do. But I was just curious what would happen if I didn't submit the URLs one by one. And to your point, John, you're asking, does it take Google 6 months? No, they crawl the article. They have all of the information. They have all the metadata, the actual content of the site. When you're talking about keywords and what Ahrefs is pulling, Ahrefs is just a third party, right? They don't have Google's data. So if Ahrefs is just monitoring some of the major keywords, those are probably the ones that you are looking at. Does it increase with age like a fine wine? I don't think so. I mean, unless you're adding words to it. Now, could it rank for other keywords in the future? Yes, potentially. So I'm dissecting your question because semantically you're making some connections that I don't believe are real. So, if Ahrefs is just showing you 5 keywords that are ranking for a particular URL, that's just the ones it's monitoring. So if you think about how Ahrefs is working, which I don't know how it works, by the way, but they have like some database of keywords that they're looking at, right? And then they're searching on Google with some mechanism, and they're seeing where things are ranking, and when a URL is ranking for a certain set of keywords, they'll show that that URL is ranking for those keywords. So they're like reverse engineering the SERPs. So if you imagine how it must work, because Ahrefs and other tools are not getting their data from Google, they're getting it from the SERPs, the search engine result pages. So, and then they're reverse engineering it, and then they're displaying it in a useful way. If anyone knows how Ahrefs works, let us know. Probably be tough to get it into one chat message. But the point is, Google has, does it take Google 6 months to find all the keywords in an article? No, they know all the words in the article immediately as soon as they crawl it. All right, as we're scrolling through, Minaj says how to do keyword clustering without a tool. So one thing is Ariel says that there are free clustering tools and you're going to make a video on it. So keep a lookout for that. And I've interviewed Ariel several times on the channel here, so you can check out her case study. It's it's deep in the library. Check it out. It's the last couple months here. But basically, how do you do keyword clustering without a tool? However you want, right? You can just come up with the related terms and internally link them how it seems appropriate to you. So there's no, to my knowledge, you can do it in a very specific way, or you can do it a little bit more arbitrarily, but you're just linking together content that fits together topically. John says, do you cluster Doug or look at frequency of keyword density? I cluster in a casual way. I don't use a tool. And it's basically what I just said, where I'm like, oh, if these topics are related, I will link up the post that makes sense. Do I look at the frequency of keyword density? Generally, no, I do not. Misty says, can I explain keyword intent? So basically, just try to get into the head of the searcher. So if someone's searching for, the last thing I have pulled up over here is safety deposit box. So if they're searching for safety deposit box for the home, they're probably looking for safes. So if you come up with a keyword safety deposit box for the home, that is not something, to my knowledge, that is a safe. And almost no one would use the term safety deposit box for the home. So if you think about what the person is actually searching for, that is the keyword intent. And side note, when you get deep into SEO or you find yourself hanging around with people that are deep into SEO, they'll start making like very weird decisions to cater to the algorithm, whatever it is. It could be Amazon algorithm, it could be the Pinterest algorithm, it could be Facebook, it can be Google, of course. So when you're around people that are really into SEO, you can start making really kind of silly decisions based on catering to whatever the algorithm is favoring at the moment, which will change all the time. So one thing that I like to do when it's kind of a weird situation, you're like, well, you could do this or you could do that. I just ignore the SEO portion and think about the end user. Typically, not always, but typically the search engines are going to hopefully have the end user in mind. So if you think about the searcher and what they're really looking for, if if you think about that, it will usually steer you in the right direction. Bill says, are keywords suitable for a pure geo keyword such as Los Angeles? Yes. I know Matt overseas is starting to turn this in the wrong direction here, asking about AI writers. All right. Saving says, do keywords in blogs and YouTube have a high correlation? Oh, do keywords in blogs and keywords in video descriptions have a high correlation? High correlation to what? I feel like there's a piece missing here. I feel like there's some context that needs to be added. And Bill, I'm not sure if I answered that in a helpful way, but if you're, yeah, keywords are keywords. So if people are searching for it, there's some different things you should think about if you're going for a geographic keyword, but keywords are relevant and sort of helpful to look at. Misty says, how to do local SEO. I'm not a local SEO expert, but generally you're putting a location in there. I would potentially, although who knows what you're going to find out there, I would Google it, watch some YouTube videos, and see if people are trying to sell you a specific tool or something like that, or charge you for services, then maybe be leery of whatever it is they're telling you. But if there's some good local SEO people on YouTube or that have blogs, and they could sort of steer you in the right direction. But generally, you focus on a locality and go from there. A nomad overseas does say, I've noticed monthly site visits have doubled since you started posting some videos with a link to the site in the video description. Funny enough, not so many of the links are coming from YouTube, so you're not sure what the reason is. So are you getting more traffic from organic search? Is it direct traffic? Is it some other kind of traffic? So I understand it's not referral traffic from YouTube. I wonder if people are like copying and pasting it from the description. How are the number of views too? Do you have is there a correlation between the number of views and the amount of traffic that is going to the URLs which are listed in the description? Interesting comment though. Very good to know. Jody says, does search volume include bot traffic or is it human? Generally, it should be non-bot traffic. It should be actual searchers, but it depends. It depends on where the data comes from, which I'm not 100% sure. John says, am I a believer or user in LSI keywords? I believe in them. Like I believe the earth is round. It's fine. It is round, right? I haven't done much research in that. So the ones that are at the very bottom of Google when you query a term, do you try to cover these? Okay, so I don't think that LSI keywords are the related keywords that you're mentioning here. They might be, but I think I'm just tearing apart the questions here. This is what I typically do though, because the words are very specific. So you're asking about related searches, and do I try to cover the related searches when it's only when it's appropriate? Typically those are good ideas for other articles. Those are ideas for other keywords. Jody says, is ranking on Bing quickly an indication that you might do well for Google? No, I don't think so. I think it's just, I mean, it's another search engine. They have nothing to do with each other, which, I mean, I think you know that they're completely irrelevant. They have nothing to do with each other. And um, the ranking on Bing is just a thing that can happen. Although you do get some tips here. Jody says for local SEO, sign up for Google business profiles, add local schema, your phone number, and your address. Cool. A Nomad Overseas comes back to say there was a major uptick in organic traffic to the site, and use the link to the category page on the site relevant to the video that's included in an attempt to get viewers to visit multiple posts. Cool. So, a couple things, number one, that is a cool piece of information. And if you are able to post videos on YouTube and, get some views and put a link to your site, whatever's relevant, that's great. You'll notice in the description for this video, I have several links going to my site, quite a few of them actually. And does it help? I don't know. Probably a little bit. But the thing is, I haven't published on the site too often very recently. But the point is, the hard part is you don't know if that was the reason. There's a good chance you were doing other things along the way. So it's always hard to tell. And we may have like confirmation bias. Same thing happens when you like lose a little bit of traffic and there's an algorithm update kind of in the same week. It could be related to it or might not. It's kind of hard to tell. In this case, it seems, kind of likely. And okay, Fever says how to rank web stories. So I think this question came up recently. I don't know what web stories are. I don't know. Does anyone have tips on web stories? Today was an interesting one. A couple weeks ago, I did a live stream. I had no topic, so I just answered some questions. And a couple weeks ago, I basically didn't know half the question. I didn't even know what the questions were about, let alone like what the answer was. Today, because I selected the topic around keyword research, something I do know about, I can actually do like a demo and stuff. So if anyone knows how to rank web stories, you can let us know. I do not. I don't know what a web story is. Kelvy is here. Nice show. Thank you. You have a quick question, so I'll stand by for that. So while we're just hanging out, please do sign up for the mini course. You got a couple more emails coming out. That is tomorrow and Friday. The mini course will help you get motivated and focus on either starting a site or growing the one that you have. Email number 1 came out yesterday, but there's 2 more. So it's just a 2-part email series, but don't worry, you will catch up. You'll understand exactly what's going on. Please do sign up for the YouTube notifications. It's very short. There's a handful of people on the notification email list, and it's very short. It's like one sentence that says, I'm going live in 1 hour. I send it an hour ahead of time, and there's no other stuff in the email. It's just that, literally to let you know when I'm going live. People find that the YouTube notifications are either late or they never come, even if you like subscribe and click the bell icon and all that stuff. And KWFinder, if you enjoyed the tool, you can save 10% using my coupon code. I think there's a free trial, so you can check that out. We got Odys, we got Ezoic, and niche website builders. If you like these live streams, go visit the sites. Even if you're not going to buy anything, visit the sites, shoot them an email, let them know that you appreciate the sponsorship. It's very helpful for me. Even if you do it every week, it's fine. Just keep letting them know. It's helpful. Thank you. I have a podcast, Doug Show. I got another podcast called Mile High Five, Personal Finance and Financial Independence. All right, we do have a few more questions. Kelvy says, am I experiencing indexing issues? If so, how are you trying to go around the issue? So you may have hopped in a little bit late, but I am doing a case study right now. I just published a bunch of articles, and I'm going to come back and tell everyone how long it took to index. And the answer is I'm not having any trouble indexing. So I think typically it's probably like young sites or something like that. All right. Adrian is coming in with the knowledge. The purpose of creating web stories is to get on Google Discover. So, like with many things, I would say, especially with like web stories, it sounds like some kind of a viral component, perhaps, especially on Google Discover. I would say do a lot of it. Do a lot of it. And you'll get better. You'll have more shots at getting on web stories. And a Nomad Overseas says Google's equivalent of Reels or YouTube Shorts. Yep. So I would say create a lot of it, because if it's a social media-esque kind of thing, the volume of whatever you're doing is going to be really helpful. Okay. And Jody says, try the Web Stories plugin for WordPress, use unique images, and give the best information in the slides you create. And Jody, so are you successful at web stories, or is this just stuff that you've heard somewhere else? Always good to check. Always good to check. Juliet says, what to focus on if my traffic is not growing? You're stuck at 20,000 and you want to get to 50K. You write long form, good quality content, and have good interlinking. Potentially, I don't know how much you're publishing, but typically, publishing more is good. It sounds like you are publishing a decent amount. So I would say maybe this happens, right? People publish content and they get to a certain point and they've always neglected the link building. Or maybe you're really good at link building and you published a little content and you spend all your time on link building. So whatever you're neglecting, it may be time to do a little work on that area. If you only want to publish content, some people don't want to build links, they only want to publish content, then you could do that. Maybe you just need to publish a lot more at a faster clip and see how it goes. If you're stuck, you potentially can look and see what has worked well in the past. Maybe there are certain topic areas that your site tends to rank for really well, and aim for that. Find more of those keywords, find something similar, find something adjacent. Maybe if you're focusing, for example, on informational topics, maybe you could find some product related reviews. If you're focusing on product reviews, maybe you focus on more informational content. So do more. Basically, Juliet, do more If you're not doing very much link building or promotion, do some of that. If you don't want to do it, then maybe you just focus on publishing more and more content. One sort of outside the box thing you can do, depending on what your site is about, and there's been great success with this from several people that I've interviewed and followed their case study. You could reach out to people on social media that are not your competitors, they're in your industry, and let's say they're big on TikTok and Instagram. You could feature them somehow on your blog, and then they're sort of incentivized to share the content and push their audience over. You're not a direct competitor, you're just spreading the word. And the thing is, people want more promotion, and because you're not a direct competitor, it's great. They may not even have a blog or anything, and you're sort of featuring them and saying they're an influencer, an expert, or an authority in the specific topic area or niche or whatever. So they're happy to share it. Again, not a competitor. So they're like, yeah, just, we could cross promote each other and it works out great. So that's worked for Christy, who I've interviewed like 15 times. Ariel mentioned it in a recent interview. You can check out a couple of her other ones. And then I believe Charlie mentioned it, and he was the guy that published 1,000 articles in 2021 on his site. And I think he has a recent update. So, okay. And I did follow up with Jody about the web story. So you're doing some stuff and you are getting some success, but the traffic isn't valuable from what you could tell. Okay. And Juliet says you only focus on content. Link building feels like such a headache, which you're right. Yeah. So the thing is, it's a headache, but it's a headache for everybody else too. So if you do it and your competitors don't, then that's good. Now, if you are thinking link building is a pain, you could view the promotion as networking. You're meeting people in your industry. Potentially, depending on what it is, you could meet them in person at conferences or retreats or whatever, and then you have like a connection with them already. All right, I think we're wrapping it up here. I think Alex is probably live over on his channel, and there's a few people here. I do have the guitar to play us out. I think I'll try to change the focus here. The funny thing with my camera, the autofocus is terrible on 4K, but it's fine on like 1080p. It is on 4K now, so hopefully it's like going back and forth. So let me lower the desk here. And for the people that are new, I got a request a while back to play guitar. So then I started just playing for like a minute or so at the end. Don't forget to subscribe. I've been taking lessons. But I didn't work on anything specific here. You can't see me playing the guitar. The camera's like that. Scooch it up here. All right, thanks everybody for hopping on, and yeah, be sure to sign up for the email list out there. I think I missed a core there.